join us today in the seminar can listen to this. So welcome everybody. I saw many interesting faces here, whether you're from Hong Kong or from somewhere else, whether you're a local expat, you are all very welcome to listen to today's talk. So today I will tell you a little bit about Encompass. I think some of you might be new to us. I will define what biodiversity is and why we want to look at strange and unique creatures. And then I will end up with some conservation efforts in Hong Kong as well. And it will be a very information-packed 1 hour, and I will go through the deck pretty quickly. There's a lot of information, and don't worry about copying any information down. The presentation and the recording will be available to you after today. So just enjoy the experience. And if you want to interrupt me in the middle for asking any specific questions on an animal, please feel free to do so. We are a fairly flexible group here, so welcome for joining us. So before I start, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Benita. I'm the founder and CEO of Encompass. I have a marine biology background, so before I jump into this training business, I study marine ecology in Indonesia. I work on sea cucumber, which is one of the examples we have today. I work on the molecular genetics, looking at marine park. After that, I work in several environmental and youth NGO. So the picture here you see on the left is I took a group of students to Sumatra, and then we did biodiversity videos on orangutans and fair trade and all that. So I've been always very passionate about animals, and I've put together today's presentation. Hopefully all of us can learn something new about Hong Kong. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about Hong Kong creatures. People think Hong Kong is a concrete jungle. There are not enough things to see, but I really think there are a lot of things to see here. And a few of you have been into our eco tour. I saw Salome here, Catherine, and Marco is one of our guides. And we bring people outdoor to learn about animals as well. So a little bit about Encompass. We promote the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in Hong Kong through experiential learning. So the picture you see here is I bring a group of people to Hoi Ha Marine Park, which is one of my favorite places in Hong Kong, to look at mangrove and sandy shore species. And if you have not been to Hoi Ha, I highly recommend it. It's very good. You will see a lot of different things. So we are a social enterprise, meaning we work with NGOs, we donate to them or we partner with them. So everything we do is related to this SDGs. So in case you haven't heard of them, SDGs are 17 Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations. So today we'll mostly look at SDG 14, life below water, and SDG 15, life on land. So I'll give you example, both marine and on land, about these animals. This is a very overwhelming list, but basically we do a lot of different workshops, whether it's eco tour, whether it's sustainable tasting. You can go to our website for information. So we do this free talk, hoping more people will learn about Hong Kong and its nature. So please support us if you can. So we do this entirely free for the community. So before I jump into the animal, so I just want to define what biodiversity is. Biodiversity can mean three things. It means genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity. For most people, we use the definition of species diversity, the number of different species. But there's also different genetic diversity. You might heard, for example, whether the virus, a variant strain. So that is part of the genetic diversity. And if it's ecosystem diversity, whether there's different ecology in the system and all that. So today we'll look at species diversity. So this is a very interesting infographics on Hong Kong biodiversity. It's from the AFCD BSEP report. But you can see we have a lot of bird, we have a lot of fish, we have a lot of plants, and basically Hong Kong is a fascinating place to look at all this. And the reason that we have such biodiversity is a few reasons. So we have a subtropical climate. We also have very diverse habitat, whether it's rocky shore, whether it's forest and all that. And we have relatively okay environmental protection work measures. And the diagram here show you a flyway, and the significance of this is we are in the East Asian Australian flyway, where over 50 million migratory birds come into Hong Kong, fly through Hong Kong every year, and a lot of them in Mai Po. And for any of you who haven't been to Mai Po, I highly encourage for a visit. You'll see a lot of interesting birds there. But basically, these are some of the reasons we have. And if you're a marine person like me, actually right now is a very good time to dive in Hong Kong. I know it sounds a little bit cold, but actually because of the current from Japan, you actually see a lot of like small juvenile fish as well. So Hong Kong has this advantage of a subtropical climate and location, which brings tropical and temperate species together. So we all live in Hong Kong, and we know land use is a very big problem. We have a big urban jungle, and also now there's a talk of building a new island, the Tomorrowland Tower Vision. There's a lot of controversy with it. It's a big debate, which we won't go into it today, but just to give you some perspective. And why this biodiversity is important, because biodiversity do us many things. It helps you prevent erosion, prevent climate. It gives us food. So a lot of species you will see today is some of the food in the Chinese market, which is why they are a little bit endangered. They also help us on nutrient recycling and also traditions, and there's a lot of cultural function as well. So some of the species you see today have a heritage function, and that's why they are so special. And if you're interested to learn more about climate regulation, we also do talk on climate justice, climate change and coffee and all that. You can go to our website. So now I want to start the first fun part of today. First question, see how much of you know, how many of you know, Hong Kong occupies 0.03% of the marine area of China, but how many of the marine species recorded in China can be found in Hong Kong? So you guys should all have a poll, and you can all vote, and we'll see the answer. So please participate. So some of you said 36, some of you said 26. Nobody's picked 16 so far. So maybe you all know the answer. You all know first mark. So I'll give another 10 seconds over there. So the second question you have is on coral, which is one of my favorite questions as well. Okay. And the answer is 26. So Hong Kong only occupies 0.03% of the area, but we contribute to 26% of the marine species recorded in China. So where do these species come from? Actually, Hong Kong has as much biodiversity as the Baltic Sea. So we are not too bad, consider how small an area we are, but obviously we are nowhere near to close to Australia. So this is a breakdown of how much of our species contribute to those recorded in China. And again, don't worry about all this info, you'll get this deck later. And this is the second question. I saw some of you already answered it. This is one of my favorite questions, and I'll give you some hint. The Caribbean has about 60 species of coral. So do we have more coral or less coral than Caribbean? So for those of you who haven't answered, I'll give you another 10 seconds to try this. So do we have more or less species of coral than the Caribbean for the second question? This is a kind of a tricky one. So okay, nobody is picking not a lot of people are picking the correct answer. The correct answer is 84 actually. So we actually have more species of coral in Hong Kong than in Caribbean. And if you're interested to find out where these corals are, you can go to Tongpingzhou, which is one of the places we go for eco tour. It has the highest coral diversity in Hong Kong. The second highest place is Hoi Ha, which you can go there easily, and full snorkeling as well. So we'll talk about corals in a short while. So these are some special species that are named after Hong Kong. They might not be only found in Hong Kong, but they are probably first found in Hong Kong. That's why it's named after Hong Kong. They have some really difficult name, but basically this scientific name is from Hong Kong species. And because we're talking about strange and unique animals, so I want to bring out this concept called CITES. CITES is called the Convention on International Trade and Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. And basically it classifies animals whether they are extinct, whether they're threatened, whether they are least concerned. And some of the species we talk about today, they are endangered or threatened. So just if you're interested to know more about this concept, I highly recommend you go check out CITES. And next time, if you go to a restaurant, when you are eating, especially fish, try to find out whether it's endangered or not. And in the end of the presentation, I'll show you some example what those are. So today we'll talk a wide variety of animals. We'll go from the simple invertebrates to some insects, and then we'll talk about anything from fish to birds and mammals. So we'll go from that from the simple to the more complex species. So that's how this presentation is going to be divided. So just to get some concept across, I know not all of us are biologists. So native species are species that occur naturally in that ecosystem, and invasive species are alien species, which usually cause economic and environmental harm. And then endemic species, which I think a lot of you would like to find out that about in Hong Kong, are those exist only in one geographic region and not found elsewhere. So endemic species are the most special one, if you can find. So first of all, we'll start with this fern. It might not look very impressive, but it's actually found that near since the dinosaur time. So it's from the Jurassic time, we have this really big fern. It's also nicknamed called the Plantosaurus because it's very big. It's used in traditional Chinese medicine, found in Hong Kong Island and Tai Mo Shan. They might not look very sexy, but they are actually quite special. So next time if you hiking and come across them, take a look, take a picture of them. And then we have the Agarwood. For those who knew Cantonese, Tou Cham Hang, actually this is the name where the Hong Kong also come from. It's used in a religious Buddhist setting, also use a lot of artistic function. And there's a lot of illegal logging coming from it because it's actually can have very high prices because of the special value of this plant. So the thieves who are caught in Hong Kong can face a jail sentence of up to 10 years. So it's quite a special route, Tou Cham Hang. So I know we don't pay a lot of attention to plants in general, but yes, plants can have very special value as well. So the next animal I want to introduce is Nudibranch, one of my favorite animal. They are called nudie for the naked gills. They're actually like snails. They are in the family of animals invertebrate. They don't have any shell. They are usually very colorful because they are toxic. They don't eat plants. They are carnivorous, so they eat like small animals and all that. And they're extremely I love them. They are very good for camera. They're really small. They usually feed on sponges and sea anemones. So if you're a diver, you probably would love that. And for those of you who are interested to learn more about diving, please message me after. I'm also a scuba diving instructor, and I can tell. I also have another whole presentation just on marine stuff. But today we'll have a combination of marine and land stuff. And then we have the blue ring octopus. I don't know how many of you know they are extremely poisonous. So they have this toxin called the tetrodotoxin, which is 10,000 times more toxic than cyanide. Luckily, there hasn't been any accident in Hong Kong that somebody got bitten and died, but technically they can. They're usually very small and camouflage, and they're usually not blue ring. So unless they're disturbed, they don't have this blue ring. So they call paralysis. There are many different other type of common octopus you see in Hong Kong, and most of them are non-toxic, but you really don't want to mess with this. And if you're interested to learn more about dangerous animals in Hong Kong, you can Google Dangerous Animal Hong Kong, and AFCD have this guide about the whole spectrum venomous species in Hong Kong. So here's another marine one. Sorry, I love marine stuff. This is called the lion's mane jellyfish. I don't think they have this one in Ocean Park because it's quite big. It's 6 feet across. So probably some of you have been to the Ocean Park jellyfish garden. They are very big. They can have tentacles that are up to 10 meters long, but they're really pretty to watch. There are many other different types of jellyfish in Hong Kong, but this one is the most special. Now we go to the coral. So coral is one of my favorite animal. Most of the coral you see are green and brown color, and the reason with that is because they have this symbiotic algae that are growing with them that help them with photosynthesis. This coral, the sun coral, doesn't have those symbiotic algae, so that's why it's not green and brown in color. So it is heterotrophic and it eats on zooplankton on it, so it doesn't do other. It doesn't do photosynthesis. So there are some places in Sai Kung you will see a lot of them. Not all sites have them, but some species, some sites have a lot of them. And then we have sea apple. Again, that's one of my favorite animal as well. As I told you, I studied sea cucumber for my master. So the picture on top here is actually taken by me. They are very colorful. So I think most Chinese people, when they think of sea cucumber, they think of this black thing they eat on the eat during Chinese New Year. But actually, a lot of sea cucumber come in a very interesting color. These tentacles are filter feeder, and if you mess with them, they have this white thing coming off from them. And what are these? Those are very sticky tentacles. Not tentacles, sorry. Very sticky internal organs, internal intestine. So if you mess with them, they have this extrude out, so you don't mess with them anymore. So next time when you see a sea cucumber, think twice before you mess with them. Now we have horseshoe crab. So now I have another questions for you. Let me do this. So I don't know how many of you know about horseshoe crab. So we can all try these questions. So which species and horseshoe crabs are mostly related? The first question. And the second question, how many eyes do horseshoe crabs have? Very interesting. We have very different answers for both questions. I'll give another 5 seconds for those of you who haven't answered. Okay, so let me give the answer. So horseshoe crabs are actually not crabs. They are not lobster. They are more related to scorpion and spider. So they are from the Anarchids family. They have been around since the Jurassic time. So that's why they are called endangered and living fossil. Another special things about them is their blood is actually blue. So this is not colored. Their blue blood is used to make antibacterial stuff as well. So in Hong Kong, you can find them in Shui Hao in the Lantau Island, but they are facing a lot of threats. So for example, in Shui Hao, I don't know how many of you been there. There are a lot of people go clam digging. So that really disturbed the juvenile habitat. And now in the city there is work by some scientists. They try to grow the baby horseshoe crabs, because like most invertebrate, the baby stage is most susceptible to this disturbance. So they have the baby to grow about like 6 months old, and then they release to the wild, hoping that the horseshoe crab population will recover. But according to some research, 99% of the horseshoe crabs has gone missing because of this overfishing and all that. And yes, unfortunately, if you go to Saikong, some fishermen still caught them. But if you do find them in Soihao or anywhere, I suggest you leave them alone. They really deserve a very good life. So the second question I have is, how many eyes do they have? Okay, this is a tricky question, very tricky. And the answer is, they have 10 eyes. So they have very good vision all across the world, all across how they see things. So a very special species. And now, want to talk about this Eucharitid wasps. It's a picture by Marco, which is also in this talk. Marco, please correct me if I'm wrong. So this unique species of wasps, they deposit eggs into into this end thing. So the wasps maybe actually grow inside the end, and finally the end dies. So yes, Marco, do you want to add anything before I jump to the next slide?
So for the Eucharitid wasp, it's a type of parasitic wasp like Benita introduced. So they will seek out ants, like she said, and then lay eggs in their larva. And generally for parasitic wasps like this one, they're not really that big. They're about that size. So they're quite difficult to spot, but when you actually get a good look at them, you see its body shape is not that of any other wasp. You see the antenna, it's like that of maybe like a beetle or a moth, and the thorax and the abdomen there is quite an irregular shape.
Thank you, Marco, and whoever. Okay, so I'll jump to the next one, also by Marco. This is called a lanternfly. Sorry, somebody need to mute. Somebody is having a very strong background noise. So they have been around for 300 million years. They have a lot of this really brilliant coloration, and the nose you see here, which is called a rostrum. They can. Sorry, I would need to mute somebody. Somebody is very very loud. Sorry for that. Okay, so they have this really special rostrum that puncture the tree and the plant, and so they actually have some sap in their body, and they are so sweet that actually some moth or gecko will lick into this lanternfly. So it's called a lanternfly, but it actually doesn't emit light. It's a misnomer. It's a mistake that they are luminous. They're actually not. And also there's a myth that if a person bitten by a lantern bug, they will die instantly unless they have sex for 24 hours. I don't know where this myth come from. I searched in Wikipedia, but apparently some people believe in that, but that's not true, okay? Here's another very special insect. Here is called a nut weevil. So we can see this really like a long elephant trunk. So that's why in Cantonese it's called a 象鼻蟲, like an elephant nose. So they tend to lay eggs in June. The larvae feed on kennel, and they burrow underground and remain dormant, and then they come. So if you come to one of our insect tours in Taipokao, you will see some of this. And then there's jumping spider. Again, this is a picture by our friend Marco here. There are two species that are endemic to Hong Kong, which is the two species I'm listed here. And they are very special because they have 8 eyes. But there are two really big ones here. They can jump up to 60 meters. And they also have this like zigzag cautious behavior. So in case I'm missing anything, let me unmute Marco. Marco, do you want to share something more on jumping spider?
In terms of endemic Hong Kong species, I think there are 2 more.
Oh, really? Okay.
One I forgot the name, but the other is called Sunic Hong Kong eye, if I remember correctly, and it's a very small jumping spider. So the Eurobolus carle, which is a caterpillar mimic jumping spider, the length is about like 3 to 4 millimeters max, And the Sunic jumping spider, the Hong Kong jumping spider, it's also similar length, and it has, like the Eurobolus carle, it has a elongated abdomen.
Thank you, Marco. So as you can tell, I'm not the insect expert here. Marco is. I'm more the marine person. But Marco will do another talk just on spider, which I will tell you more in the end if you're interested. So now go to something that I'm more familiar with. This is a very common anemonefish in Hong Kong. And if you are old enough to see Finding Nemo, this is not the Nemo, okay? You don't want to mess with this anemonefish. They are really aggressive, very territorial. And if you swim very near them, they will come bite your finger. I have that happen to me before. It's not very pretty. I mean, it won't kill you, it's just very annoying. But there's only one species of anemonefish that are found in Hong Kong, and this is this species are called Clark anemonefish. So basically, anywhere in Sai Kung with corals, you will find this anemonefish. And then we have another fish called the frogfish. They are related to the anglerfish, very ugly looking, but extremely well camouflaged. They don't really swim, they just crawl. And I have a short video that shows you what frogfish is.
And now it's time for some more amazing animals. Number 42, the amazing frogfish. Is it a frog? Is it a fish? Where is it?
Cooey, I'm over here.
Ah, there it is. Frogfishes are a type of anglerfish found in almost all tropical oceans and seas around the world. They live on the ocean floor and coral reefs. They're often colored in order to blend into their surroundings. The frogfish has an amazing front dorsal fin, which they use to fish for little tiny sea creatures. This one looks like some kind of brush.
Right, this place needs a really good clean.
Frogfish don't generally move very much, preferring to wait for dinner to come to them. What a lazy fish!
Has anyone got a phone? I think I might dial for takeout.
Look at me! I'm doing the worm! Woohoo! When they spot their prey, they wait and wait and wait. And then...
Hey, I'm doing the...
They open their jaws, sucking in the water and their prey with it, trapping them inside.
Hello? Why is it all gone dark?
The frogfish. What an amazing animal.
So just to not give you the wrong impression, frogfish are not very easy to find in Hong Kong. I think out of my 20 years of diving in Hong Kong, I've only seen it 3 times. But maybe I'm not very good at finding them. They are not usually so well camouflaged. It's very hard to find them. But they are very special fish. But here is another one that's more common. Flying Gurnard is very common in Hong Kong. You find them in a lot of habitats in Sai Kung. So they're called flying Gurnard because their fins is like a wing. So when they are searching for food or when they're very excited, they fly with their fins. So very pretty as well. And then another fish, a lot of you might be familiar with this, those who like eating Hong Kong grouper. So Chinese people like eating grouper fish. They are endangered, and there's a reason to that. So this really complicated diagram here basically is saying fish, the grouper will change sex. So when they are smaller, they are female, and when they are bigger, they become male. However, if you remove all the female when they are very young, then very few fish go into the male. So it will screw the male ratio. So at the end of this talk, I will show you seafood guide by WWF. So next time, if you are into eating reef fishes, be careful of what kind of reef fishes you are eating and they're not endangered. And now let's move to the amphibians, tree fox. So this is perhaps the most famous endemic species in Hong Kong. They are called the Roma tree fox. They are first found in Lamma Island. There's the largest population in Chek Nap Kok, and there's a lot of conservation materials on this really tiny fox. So I think they are one of the most symbolic species of endemic thing. Again, but here's another one that is less well known. It's Hong Kong newt. So a newt is different from a frog because you can see there's a long tail. It has this lizard-like tail. It's the only species of salamander that are found in Hong Kong. It's once thought to be endemic to Hong Kong, but now it's also being found in coastal parts of Guangdong province. However, they are also subject to climate change because they breed only in the coolest month. So as Hong Kong is getting warmer and warmer, and I'm sure a lot of you feel that in the summer, it just feels so hot. It's really threatening their habitat. So yeah. And another species I really like is green turtle. So in Hong Kong, you can find 6 species of turtle. Sometimes you find leatherback and all that, but green turtle is the most common one, and I do see them in diving. Is common, and you can find them in someone as well. However, like the horseshoe crab, they are also being threatened by harvesting, construction, and all that. And here is a few more pictures of green turtle killed by marine litter. And as we all know, plastic pollution is a big problem in Hong Kong. And if you haven't seen this picture, this is basically a turtle saying "fuck you," but it's one of my favorite picture. I think it really shows you the turtle is really not happy about what we are doing. In case you're wondering where this picture is from, it's one of the I think best picture in 2020 on animals. So if you next time want to tell your friends to be more careful about their plastic, you can use this picture. And green turtles are also susceptible to climate change. And the reason is green turtle baby, they have an incubation temperature. So when they're young, when it's less warm, it's predominantly a male, and when it's warmer, it's predominantly female. So if you can imagine, if the temperature is keep increasing, then you have only female and not male, then it also will screw the temperature. So again, I know we have a lot of images on polar bear affected by climate change, but closer to home, we have sea turtle affected by climate change. And here is a picture I took in one of the eco tour with Marco. This is wet-necked newback. So now we move to the reptiles. So they are generally not aggressive, but they can be venomous as well. So hey Marco, are you still here? You want to share more your experience with newback?
So redneck keelback, like Benita said, can be both venomous and poisonous. And the why is it poisonous? Because the poison it secretes, it will secrete through this red region through the neck, and it's more brightly colored during the juvenile stage. The entire color of the snake is more vibrant during the juvenile stage, and as they mature into adults, they become more of a dull green, and they mainly get the poison from their diet, which is mainly Asian common toads, which also secrete poison through 2 poison glands behind the eye.
And what other species of snakes you usually see in your hike?
What other snakes? Bamboo pit viper, I think, is one of the more common and notorious species. Chinese cobras. Well, these are the more common ones, but and venomous ones, if you want some like safe, like non-venomous species, common rat snakes, Indo-Chinese rat snakes are also common. And one more thing to add about the redneck keelback is, even though it's venomous, it's not fanged. So unlike a viper, it is actually rear fanged, where the teeth are actually hooked and pointing inwards like that of a python. So that is one of the main difference between the redneck keelback and vipers in Hong Kong.
Thank you, Marco. So now we finished reptile. Now we're going into birds. So this is probably one of the most recognized birds in Hong Kong. It's one of the icons used by WWF Hong Kong. It's called the black-faced spoonbill. So these are endangered species. They reside mostly in the northern part of Hong Kong, in the Hong Kong wetland. They are very endangered because the wetland habitats are degrading. And this is another similar species called sandpiper. So like the spoonbill, their bill is specialized in shape, and they are also migratory like most endangered birds in Hong Kong, and with the climate change, it's really threatening their habitat. So now we'll move to the mammals. Chinese pangolin, not easy to see in Hong Kong, but they do exist, and they are a little bit controversial because it was said that they might found to carry strains of coronavirus earlier, and in Chinese is being seen, mainland China is being seen as a delicacy for both its scale and its meat. So it's really and there's very little research on that in Hong Kong, so we don't even know what the population size is in Hong Kong. And the next one is civet cats. So civet cats are nocturnal solitary predator. If you scare them, then they have this fragrance perfume coming out. Also, if you're into coffee like me, there's something called a Kubi Lorak and civet coffee that come from the excretion. So this special coffee, when the civet cat ingest the coffee bean and excrete it in the excrement, is found to be more tasty. So it's very being fetched into a high price. They are not very easy to see because they are very nocturnal and solitary, but some people do find them very mesmerizing, very pretty species. And we have the leopard cat as well. Leopard cat, they are very good swimmer, and there was a story a few years ago. An expat couple thought they saw a tiger in Hong Kong. It's not really a tiger; it's a leopard cat, but they can grow fairly large in size. We have the mongoose. I'm not sure how many of you know this animal. It's not very being well discussed. They look like fox with small ears. They are very curious in nature. They are expert hunter. They can eat insect, bird, frog, lizard, and all that. They are becoming little devils because in some other areas in the world, because they are considered as invasive species, because they can eat everything. So it really changes the ecology of that particular habitat. They are threatened in Hong Kong. I personally haven't seen one. I don't know if has anybody seen mongoose in Hong Kong in this group?
I've seen one. It was a few weeks back. I saw one for 5 seconds and then it just zipped. It was right across the path. I was just meters away from it. Yeah, so
they are not very easy to spot. And then we have the barking deer. So the barking deer is called barking deer because they bark like a dog. They have this really unique alarm call. Again, they are nocturnal, very hard to see. They are very wary of humans, and they mark its territory using a gland in front of his eye. So like in the gland, you see here near the eye, there's a special gland that they use the fluid to mark its territory. And now the Chinese white dolphin, I think most of you have heard from them. They are in the media quite a bit, but they are probably in the media quite a bit for the wrong reason, because the population have really extinct quite recently, especially with the development in the Lantau. And I think quite a few conservation groups have campaigned for them for their protection. So in case you don't know why they're pink in color, so they're actually pink in color when they're in the surface, and the reason is just like us sweating. When they are very warm, they need to have blood in their skin, so that's makes it red. So that's why. Unfortunately, last year it was on the news quite a bit as well. I think there were quite many deaths of Chinese white dolphin. So I don't know. Anybody here work on dolphins? Want to share more? No? Okay. We'll wait till the end. So if you want to know about the threats to Chinese white dolphin, I know it's a very overwhelming diagram, but basically the message here is there's a lot of infrastructure that's happening in Hong Kong with the airport, with the bridge and all that, and all those in the South Lantau area, which threaten the area where the dolphins live. So Hong Kong have a few marine areas, and there are two marine parks near South Lantau that are where they try to protect the Chinese white dolphin. So yes, so I have some closing message and conservation in Hong Kong. So I hope after this talk and also from what you read, you will also be more empathetic for endangered species and how they can how you can protect them. And I have some suggestions on how you can do that in a second. In Hong Kong, there are a few measures of how to protect the marine, the animals and the areas. So there's several, there are 6 marine parks in Hong Kong now and 1 marine reserve. There's also the Wetland Convention, which protect the wetland in Mai Po. There are some special area called site of special scientific interest, like the Sunwan turtle area. There are also artificial coral reefs. For example, in Hoi Ha, they try to replant the reef, the corals there. There are also environmental laws. So if you're interested, here a map of protected areas in Hong Kong. As you can see, in Hong Kong, most of the marine areas are on the east part because that's where the corals are. And the reason is because in the west there's the Pearl River Delta, so the water is more fresh, so it's less conducive for coral. But you do see some marine areas here in blue, and the reason is because that's where the dolphins live. So as I said, I highly recommend you go to Mai Po if you haven't. It's a fantastic area to see plants, to see mangroves and all that. And other areas you can see this few site of special scientific interest. So for example, in Feng Yun, this is in Tai Po, you can see like over 100 species of butterflies there. Very beautiful area. You also have the Nam Phong woodland and also the Keelang Ha mangrove. So if you're interested to find out special animals in Hong Kong, these are some areas you can do. And if you're interested to learn more how this biological diversity is being conserved, you can read on the Convention of Biological Diversity. In Hong Kong, this BSAP is called the Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. It came out in 2016. Basically, it is a strategy for how to assess the biodiversity in an area, how to develop a strategy and action plan in protecting it. I think there will be an update this year, 5 years from the report, about how the monitoring and the progress is for the animal protection. And so the last part of the presentation is what can you do? So in Hong Kong, if everybody lives like Hong Kong, we need 4.2 Earth, and a lot of our ecological footprint come from food, come from our transportation. So if you want to make a difference and protect Hong Kong wildlife, these are some SDG suggestions. For example, if you insist on turning an aircon, I know in the summer it can be unbearable. Try to turn your aircon up a few degrees warmer, so using less carbon. These are some suggestions. Again, I just want to raise the awareness. But I think this is a more concrete guide. So we were talking about endangered and threatened species just now. This is a seafood guide by WWF. So if you're into seafood, if you're into eating like codfish or grouper, look at this guide. For example, there are some certain grouper in Hong Kong that you want to think twice before you eat them. Certain grouper, because they are farmed, like this indoor giant grouper, it's less problematic to eat them. So if you have friends, for example, they are hosting a banquet, please recommend this guide for them so they can think about more about what they eat. And another thing you can do is report eco-vandalism. So unfortunately, like I said, there are some illegal logging going on in Hong Kong. I've also seen people in Hoi Ha, in the marine protected area, they are taking clams and taking fan mussel out of it. So if you see that, please report it so we can protect the biodiversity together. And one way that everybody can contribute is iNaturalist. So I don't know if all of you have this app on your mobile. If not, I highly recommend it. It's free app. It used both in Android and iPhone. So you take a picture of an insect or whatever that is, it automatically have the location and the time, and then based on the AI of the app, it will tell you, give you some suggested name of the species, and if it doesn't, some other people in the community will probably help you to name it. So they also have this campaign called the City Nature Challenge. If you are from a school or from a group want to join, or even an individual, it's usually the last weekend of April. You can take the most number of species or the most number of observation as well. So it's really a fantastic tool to learn about animals as well. So this is called a citizen science. Everybody can have that data. And I think in Hong Kong, I know some moth researcher, they really use this data for the research, because like moth is some of the species that are really hard to find, and that can help the scientists to make a distribution. Do you have anything to add, Marco, on this, on iNaturalist?
I personally use iNaturalist myself, and I use it to learn some identification of different organisms and to help help check with some of my friends to see like whether I got the species right, and also just to see what other people have been seeing. So it's a really good scientific sharing platform where you can share your experiences with others and also learn at the same time. But one thing I do want to point out is for new users, there will be an auto identification function for iNaturalist. Do not fully trust that function, because sometimes it can be very inaccurate. I've tried sometimes where I have taken a photo in Hong Kong and it has shown me a species from the US. So try not to use that function, I think. And there are also some projects in Hong Kong, for example, Hong Kong spiders, Hong Kong moths, like Benita mentioned, and posting your findings into the group not only would really help their scientific research, because some ecological surveys, they also rely on that data.
Thank you, Marco. So if you're interested to learn more about biodiversity and the name, this is a free website called the Hong Kong Biodiversity Information System. It's bilingual, so you can type any scientific name or common name, and it will give you some suggestions on the animals, and so you can learn about them. There are also other ways you can participate. For example, I'm a diver, and we have something called a reef check. So what it has been around in Hong Kong for 20 years. So what we do is we go to a specific area, and then we have a quadrant, and like this guy, we'll record the coral we see, we'll record the substrate, the coral coverage, the number of fish species. So this is another way of learning about biodiversity as well. And don't try to read everything here. I know it's very hard to read, but basically this is just to show you the amazing biodiversity we have in Hong Kong. And okay, I'll mention 37. I think there has been some sighting in whale shark in Hong Kong. I haven't seen them personally, but there have been people seeing it. So Hong Kong does have very special animals. So these are some of my recommendations of where you can learn more about animals. So I don't know if Robert is here in the call. Robert runs this page called Wild Creatures on Hong Kong. Really good blog and photos of different animals. There's also special other groups like Hong Kong Insects or Hong Kong Bird Watching Society. You can learn more about animals. This documentary, I'm sorry, is in Cantonese, but if you can read Chinese, this is a program by RTHK, 大自然大不同, which also shows you amazing biodiversity in Hong Kong. And if you want to learn about different animals in the environmental center, here are some suggestions. And again, you will have this deck, so don't worry about copying any of this. So Marco, do you want to spend like 2 minutes explaining your next talk to give a preview to people?
Okay, so on February the 17th, I will be doing a talk about spiders in Hong Kong. and I will talk, and all the species I've included besides one, that will be sort of a surprise guest. All of the species the photos were taken in Hong Kong, and all the species were found in Hong Kong. And I'll be talking about some common features of spiders, their habitats, some common species that you can find in Hong Kong, and some very interesting behavior about spiders, because I would say spiders are one of the most misunderstood groups of animals, not just in Hong Kong, but around the world. So this talk will not only, I hope people can raise their awareness about spiders, but also to change their perspective. So I'm not telling you to completely love them like I do, but hopefully you will fear them a little less after this talk.
Thank you, Marco. So I have officially ended my presentation. So sorry, I know I tend to speak very quickly, but there's quite many things I want to go through. So anybody want to have a comment or questions about any of the animals, or here or not here? I know we have a big group here and probably a lot of wisdom here. So Cass, do you think there's enough being done to enforce the different legislation and BSEP? How can we better protect biodiversity when enforcement always seem to be an issue? I don't know if I have a very critical answer to that, but I have witnessed, at least like in Hoi Ha, I see there's a lot of like that. There's supposed to be a warden there to protect the marine animals, but the warden has a 9 to 6 job, and then after 6 he doesn't care. So people do, and like even when the warden is here and people do poaching, they don't do anything about it. Yes, is I think is some of the legislation is poorly enforced, unfortunately, and that's why I think like reporting eco-vandalism is important as well. So there's this app called the Trail Watch. I don't know if anybody know. Everybody know. I'll share a link. The Trail Watch app also has a function for reporting eco-vandalism. So if you see any animals or plants being disturbed in Hong Kong, you can use that app to report it. I don't know how much impact it will make, but at least I think it will give people evidence that it actually happened, that there's destroying of habitat and animals. So unfortunately, with most things in Hong Kong, we know that government is not the most effective thing. Sorry, I'm not so sure if I'm putting this correctly, but I think individual citizens can do quite a bit. We cannot enforce the law, but at least we can try to report it when it's not fully implemented. So there's another question by Castro: how to join the activities for ethnic minorities. I work with several groups. I work with Table of Two City and Grassroots Future, and some of the tours we do have a quota for people from underrepresented group to join at discount or no cost. So if you're not in a particular group and you're interested, please message me. I'm happy to work something out to help the community. So the people, and maybe Catherine can share that, the people who join our tour really from really different background and try to learn more as well. So yeah. Anybody have a question or comment? Or Cass, you want to share some of your work you're doing on Hong Kong animals? Sorry, you're on mute. Do I need to unmute you? Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I've been doing education work at schools for about 7 years now, going around teaching about some of the Hong Kong animal issues that we have with mammals, and then obviously the greater work that Animals Asia does with moon bear rescue in China and Vietnam. So yeah, it keeps me fairly busy, but living out here in Sai Kung and being an avid hiker, I definitely see a lot of different nature, wildlife, flora and fauna, and I'm very interested in obviously preserving and protecting that in Hong Kong. So really good talk that you gave this evening, and nice to have a general overview of some of the special things that we have here. So yeah.
Thank you, Cass.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can share a link about your work in the chat box so everybody know.
Sure, good idea. Thank you.
So Pamela was asking, do you know about the struggling cows on grassland Tap Moon? Yes, I know about them. I think not only in Tap Moon, but also in Lantau as well. There's a lot of I think at least in Lantau, there's a lot of struggle of people who are pro cow and pro buffalo, and people who are anti it. And I think there are stories that people are actively trying to harm those cow or buffalo. Some villagers think that they are destroying the growings or whatnot. And then there are some really good-hearted people who try to feed those injured one and try to help them. And I think I've heard this story. I don't know if all of you remember. I think it was 2 years ago in Chinese New Year. There was a group of cow who went to the Fusion supermarket in Weevil and eat the strawberry there. I don't know if you heard of that story. And so there was this viral video on the internet that, oh, cows are eating our strawberries. So I've talked with some of the villagers there, and they told me the story is because the cow usually know where to feed, where to find food, but the problem is the AFCD actually killed their like leader in the group. So the cow become very leaderless, and they just go to random area to find food. So I think it's not only the responsibility of just normal people, but I think AFCD also, like when they try to relocate the cow and they try to do some measures, they are not very good with that. I don't know, Cass, what do you think about cows? I don't know about cows in general. But there's a lot of different theories on why things happen to cow, I think. Yeah. Okay. Anastasia, are there any diving activities happening at the moment? No, I think first of all, it's very cold to dive in Hong Kong right now. Most people don't dive until March or April because the temperature tends to be quite cold. The second reason is officially because of the social distancing rule, none of the boats can go up. So officially there are no diving activities. So let's hope after the CNY things are a little bit better. I hope, I don't know, but yes, in April and to November is good diving season in Hong Kong. Anybody want to ask a question or something you are working on animals or plants or whatever you want to share? Salome, you want to share what you do with Ecomarine?
Currently, wait, let me see. We're planning. Oh, we have a bicycle cleanup coming up soon.
Yeah, you can do a introduction here.
But it's just you have your it's more of a drop-in. So we'll have it posted up on Facebook soon. So it's like a cycle. You can come and stop by. We're doing it in Sunny Bay for like 15 to 30 minutes just on your morning cycle. So we'll be set up for a few hours, but we'll have more information on our Facebook page. Otherwise, yeah, we're still monitoring the situation and seeing what events we can roll out. But we are going to continue partnering with EO Farm this year. So hopefully we'll do mangrove cleanup again and another farm visit. And we're partnering with the chef, Peggy, about food waste and things that we can do to reduce, you know, when we go shopping and cooking, stuff like that. So we'll also have that. Actually, I think that's posted up on our website already. So yeah. So those are our two main initiatives this coming year.
Can I also introduce the involuntary pair work card game?
Oh yeah.
You're going to get gift. I'll share the picture and maybe you can explain, Salome.
Oh yeah, so we worked with the German artist Lena, and these are pictures of things that she's collected about around beaches in Southeast Asia. And there's a detailed so one is man-made and one is found in nature. And it's a really beautifully curated collection of her entire series of work. She did have a show at the Maritime Museum, but the museums haven't opened yet, so it hasn't been visible to the public, which is unfortunate. So hopefully things will change soon. But yeah, we'll have that for sale. Right now you can purchase it through Real Creed, which is another partnership we did with a purse company that uses waste leather to make their purse. Selling it for us, but we'll have it on our websites. We're going to have shopping carts and stuff like that. But for now, yes, you can purchase it from there. Thanks, Benita, for reminding us about that.
Yep, it's a very good gift if you have kids, especially you want to learn, teach them about pollution. This is a very good product. Maybe if anybody need a gift for CNY, that's good. Robert's BioBlitz, he seemed to have gone offline. So yes, BioBlitz is a very good. Let me show that up to everybody. BioBlitz is basically go to an area and record like the different number of species you can see. So it's a very good occasion to learn about animals with other people. So yeah, Robert again is another fantastic wildlife photographer, and also he runs the Wild Creatures Hong Kong, as I said, a very good site for learning about animal. He also has a book called Wild Creatures Hong Kong. You can purchase a very pretty picture as well to learn about Hong Kong biodiversity. So with that, I think we are slightly over time, but thank you everybody for joining and being with us today. I hope you learned something new about Hong Kong animals and have new appreciation with them. So yes, I think that's about me. Anybody have another comment or want to share with the group? Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Helen. So thanks for having me to present with you. I hope everybody have a good evening. So good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.